The cameras began rolling and the iconic theme music of The View filled the studio. The audience erupted in cheers, waving their hands, some holding up phones to capture what they hoped would be a memorable interview. Joy Behar leaned forward in her chair, lipstick flawless, cue cards in hand, the corners of her smile sharp as a blade. This was her arena, live television, and today's guest was sure to draw ratings. "Welcome back, everyone," she said, her voice rich and commanding. "Today we've got a guest who needs no introduction. Actor, director, and let's be honest, one of Hollywood's most talked-about figures. Please welcome Mel Gibson." The applause that followed wasn't the usual roar of adoration. It was mixed, some enthusiastic, some tentative, and a few scattered claps that sounded unsure. Mel stepped onto the stage, smiling faintly, hands tucked in his jacket pockets. His rugged look, graying beard, leather boots, and an old charm that age hadn't dulled, contrasted sharply with the pastel set. Joy rose to shake his hand. "Mel, good to have you here." "Thanks for having me, Joy," he replied, voice steady, eyes giving away nothing. As they sat, the audience quieted, sensing tension even before words began to fly. Joy adjusted her papers theatrically. "So, Mel," she began, "it's been a while since we've seen you making the rounds. What made you decide to come on The View today?" Mel smiled faintly. "I've got a new film coming out next month. Thought it was time to talk about something creative again, something that isn't tabloid fodder." Laughter fluttered through the audience, light but uneasy. Joy gave a knowing smirk. "Ah, the tabloid fodder. Well, I think it's fair to say you've had your share of headlines." The smile didn't leave his face, but his eyes sharpened. That's one way to put it. Whoopi Goldberg, sitting beside Joy, leaned back in her chair, already anticipating what was coming. Sarah Haynes looked between them like a referee waiting for a whistle. Sonny Hostin, ever the lawyer, crossed her legs and folded her arms, watching with quiet fascination. Joy pressed on. "Your new film is about redemption, isn't it? About second chances?" "Exactly," Mel said. "It's about people who've made mistakes and still have the courage to rebuild their lives. It's something I think we can all relate to." Joy tilted her head slightly. "Interesting you'd say that because you've, well, had to rebuild your reputation too, haven't you?" The audience went silent. Even the crew behind the cameras held their breath. Mel chuckled softly, though there was no humor in it. "I was wondering how long it'd take for that to come up." Joy's grin widened just a little. "Well, I'm a journalist. I have to ask what people are thinking." He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "Joy, with all due respect, what people think and what actually happened are often two very different things. I've said my apologies, I've done my time in the shadows, and I've worked hard to earn back respect." Joy raised her brows. "Some would say that's not enough. That some things can't just be fixed with time." "Some would," Mel said, his voice low. "But that's the thing about forgiveness. It's not for some. It's for everyone." There was an audible murmur from the audience, some nodding in approval, others shifting in discomfort. Joy sensed the moment, and like a cat sensing prey, she pounced. "Let's talk about that," she said. "You've made some pretty strong statements about Hollywood lately, about cancel culture, about hypocrisy. Some people took that as you trying to play the victim." Mel's eyes narrowed. "Victim? No, I've never called myself that. I said the system's flawed, that people love outrage more than understanding. So you're saying you're misunderstood?" Joy countered, her tone edged with challenge. "I'm saying people are quick to judge," he replied, his patience thinning. "They build you up so they can tear you down. That's not accountability, Joy, that's entertainment." The crowd reacted, some clapping, some gasping. Joy's eyes flicked toward the producer's booth. The camera lights blinked faster, signaling the director's delight at the drama unfolding. Whoopi muttered under her breath, "Oh, Lord, here we go again." Joy ignored her. "Mel, no one forced you to say or do the things that got you in trouble. You can't blame the media for that." "I'm not blaming anyone," he said firmly. "I'm saying there's a difference between reporting facts and fueling hate." Her expression hardened. "You think asking questions is hate?" He smiled tightly. "Not when they're asked in good faith. But this isn't an interview, Joy. It's a trial. Gasps filled the studio. Joy blinked, then forced a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Oh, come on, Mel. You've been in this business for decades. You know how it works. Yeah, he said. I know exactly how it works. And I know when I'm being set up for a viral clip instead of a real conversation. The tension in the air was thick enough to taste. Joy's lips parted slightly as... The hallway outside the View studio was a mess of echoing footsteps, muffled voices, and the hum of chaos that always followed a live television disaster. Crew members whispered urgently, producers paced with headsets glued to their ears, and the show's PR team was already typing statements about passionate on-air discourse. But down at the end of the corridor, Mel Gibson moved like a man in no hurry, his stride calm, purposeful, the faint sound of his boots clicking against the tile. His assistant trailed behind him, clutching a folder and looking panicked. Mel, please, just give them a minute. They want to smooth it over before this blows up online. It's already blowing up, he said, not even glancing back. You could feel it the second I stood up. They reached his green room. The door shut with a solid thud, drowning out the chatter outside. Inside, the faint smell of coffee and stage makeup hung in the air. The room was small, lined with bright mirrors and half-empty water bottles. Mel ran a hand through his hair, pacing once before slamming his mic pack onto the counter. He stared at his reflection. The man looking back at him didn't seem angry, just tired. His face showed every year, every battle fought on and off the screen. It's always the same, he muttered. No matter what I say, they just want a headline. Outside, the noise swelled. The audience was still filing out, murmuring about what they'd just seen. The floor director's voice barked orders. Keep rolling B-roll! Joy's regrouping. Don't cut the feed too early. A knock came at the door. Mel ignored it at first, thinking it was his assistant again. Then he heard her voice, firm, unmistakable. Mel, it's Joy. Open up. He closed his eyes for a second, jaw tightening. Of course, he muttered. Why wouldn't she? He opened the door slowly. Joy Behar stood there, still in her red blazer, makeup slightly smudged from the lights. Without the cameras and crowd, she looked less composed, more human. Her hands were on her hips, her expression unreadable. Mind if I come in? She asked. Depends, he said dryly. You planning to finish the ambush or call a truce? Joy hesitated for half a beat, then stepped inside. You didn't have to walk out, she said, shutting the door behind her. We could have finished that conversation like adults. Mel gave a humorless laugh. Oh, that wasn't a conversation. That was a performance. You poked, I reacted, and now you've got your viral moment. That's not fair, Joy shot back. I was doing my job. People want to hear you answer the hard stuff. You can't expect to come on a national show and not be asked about your past. I don't expect that, he said, turning toward her. But there's a difference between asking and attacking. You didn't want an answer, you wanted me on the defensive. Joy crossed her arms. Mel, you have to understand it's the View. We challenge people. You've been through controversy, and it's my job to remind me of it every chance you get, he interrupted. His tone was calm, but there was weight in it. I know who I was, Joy. I know what I did. But I also know who I am now. And I'm not going to keep reliving a version of myself that the media won't let die. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Joy's eyes softened slightly, just enough to reveal something. Regret, maybe, or reflection. You're not wrong about the media, she said quietly. We do love a villain, but you don't make it easy to root for you when you walk off like that. Mel gave a faint smile. Maybe not. But I'd rather walk off than sit there while someone twists my words for ratings. She sighed, leaning against the counter. You've still got a temper. And you've still got a knack for pushing people toward it, he replied. Joy actually laughed at that, a short, surprised sound. You know, I can't even argue with that. He looked at her through the mirror's reflection. You ever get tired of it? The fighting, the outrage, the pretending it's all about journalism? Her eyes flicked toward his. You think I enjoy it? Do you? She paused, thinking. The silence stretched. Finally, she said, sometimes it feels like we're not even talking anymore. just shouting different versions of the truth and calling it dialogue. Mel nodded slowly. Then maybe you know exactly what I mean. They stood there for a moment, two battle-worn veterans of an industry that thrived on confrontation. The noise from the hallway bled faintly through the door, producers calling for Joy, publicists whispering damage control strategies. But in that quiet space, something almost like understanding settled between them.